Well, good day. It's the 21st of June already, 2021. Kind of clear, humid in Virginia. I know a lot of you want to join the Marshal Service, and I think they're going to be having over 1,000 vacancies in the next year, mainly in judicial security. And I hope you get those jobs. But you have to remember that no job is perfect. And a recent case in South Dakota, which is its own, not only a state, but its own judicial district, the U.S. Marshal, Chief Deputy, and one of the employees has been charged criminally with contempt of court, obstruction of justice, and behavior that is tantamount to kidnapping. Yes, kidnapping. They are on bond. They cannot leave South Dakota. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of ridiculous. I've got the details right here. Well, this is about the U.S. Marshals and a federal judge in the District of South Dakota, which is not only a state, it's its own federal district. It's a story that takes place at the U.S. District Court in Aberdeen, South Dakota, which you would think is a wonderful place to work, like nice blue sky. Not too big. It's not like Miami or New York or Chicago or any place like that. And the combatants, the two belligerents in the case. Number one, U.S. District Court Judge Charles Kornmann. He's 83 years old. He was appointed by President Clinton back in 1995, and he's senior status U.S. District Court Judge. Now, for those of you who don't know, what is a senior status judge? A senior status judge is a judge who has put in 10 years or more on the bench full-time, and after that they can take senior status. Now, what that means is they work a lighter load. They can work as little as they want. They don't have to really work at all. Okay, they can hold this position till the day they die, and they still remain a U.S. District Court judge with full pay and benefits. Now, this is opposed to retirement, in which event they would only receive a portion of their pay and would no longer hold the title or position or power of judge. So a judge, once you're appointed to U.S. District Court and you're confirmed and you're commissioned, once you do your 10 years, so let's say, I'm 61, I was appointed, nominated, confirmed. When I'm 71, I could take senior status. I could be on senior status till the day I die. So I've lived to be 101, I could still be senior status. Now, I might be in an Alzheimer's ward drooling, but I'm still a federal judge. I still get full pay. That's the way it works. The other one involved, U.S. Marshal Daniel Mosteller, appointed by President Trump, Marshal for the District of South Dakota. If you want to know what his background is, we'll get into this just a little bit, because there's so much interest in the Marshal Service. This guy is a U.S. Marshal, okay? Nominated by President Trump in 2018, he was confirmed and sworn in on the April 27th, which, I probably think he might be wishing that never happened. And he's responsible for U.S. Service, Marshal Service operations in the district's 66 counties and 9 federally recognized Indian reservations, so on and so forth. Okay, everything that he does as a U.S. Marshal. He is a retired superintendent of the South Dakota Highway Patrol, a position he held from 2003 to 2010 after 27 years of service. So he was a state trooper, worked his way up to superintendent of the South Dakota Highway Patrol. And then in between that time, after he left the South Dakota Highway Patrol, was law enforcement coordinator for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of South Dakota, and also held a security role for the South Dakota State Legislature. And he has a degree from the University of South Dakota, a bachelor's degree in earth science and a minor in criminal justice. Okay, there you go. Now, in March, Judge Kornmann, this guy, issued an order that all court personnel receive COVID vaccinations. Now, that might be a little problematic, because I don't know that you can order anybody, even the military does not order its personnel to get a COVID vaccination, from what I've been told, unless they've changed things. But at any rate, here's how it came to a head. On the 10th of May, a deputy marshal, female deputy, appearing before Judge Kornmann with a prisoner. She's escorting a prisoner. What they've got the judge doing apparently is magistrate work. And again, for those of you who don't know, a magistrate is usually appointed by the judges of the district, but if the magistrate's on leave, a U.S. District Court judge can do it. They bring in everyone they've arrested the night before or over the weekend, and they set bail and read the complaint, give them a complaint, and appoint an attorney for them. It's pretty, it's not no heavy lifting there at all. And they also would sign off on arrest warrants, search warrants, whatever. But a deputy marshal came into court with a prisoner. He asked her, "Young lady, have you received your COVID vaccination?" She says, "I don't have to answer that." He goes, "Oh, yes, you do." He goes, "No, I don't." And he ejected her from the courtroom. And she started to leave with her prisoner. So, "Wait a minute, where are you going with her?" And she said, "Well, I'm leaving with my prisoner." He goes, "No, no, no. She stays. You go." And he had the other marshal who was in court guard that prisoner. Well, what this female deputy did is then took the prisoners who were awaiting appearance and brought them back to the jail, citing unsafe conditions. There weren't enough vaccinated deputy marshals to please Judge Kornmann, and you can't just have one marshal in the courtroom. That's not safe. So they brought them all back to the jail, and the judge then held the remainder of the hearings virtually, which is completely legal and fine. But he wasn't happy. And later that day, the chief deputy, Stephen Hoteling, called the judge, who became angry, and he ordered Marshal Mosteller, Chief Deputy Hoteling, and Chief of Staff John Kilgannon to appear before him on Monday, June 14th for a show cause hearing. For those of you who don't know what a show cause hearing is, it's to determine if you're in contempt of court. A magistrate would never have done this, but a U.S. District Court, yeah, they do it. Okay, and at the hearing, he gave them a choice of publicly apologizing, ordering vaccination for all the marshals, and paying a $5,000 fine, which they refused. Well, they appeared at the hearing with DOJ attorneys, because they're on duty within the scope of their employment, and the judge said that he reviewed the facts and circumstances and determined that the assertions that the marshals didn't have to disclose their vaccination status was wrong, according to reporting by the Aberdeen News. The judge also called the argument made by the general public that individuals have a right to choose not to get the vaccine. He said it was nonsense. And he called the arguments made by the U.S. Marshal Service frivolous and bogus, including the assertion that they couldn't be held in contempt. And he said it's bogus and they engaged in a conspiracy. At that point, Judge Kornmann charged Marshal Mosteller and his assistants with kidnapping. Yes, I'm sure that was a well thought out situation, but at any rate, and I'm sure this guy has the longest fuse in the world, right? Yeah. Anyway, at any rate, the trial set for the 13th of September. The U.S. Attorney has till Friday to decide whether they'll prosecute, and if not, he'll appoint a special prosecutor. And it kind of begs the question. I mean, he's senior status. He's 83 years old. I'm not saying 83-year-olds can't do work, but, again, in my time, when I would second chair a case with the U.S. Attorney, the judges, they're almost, older, 60s, 70s, mostly 60s, but I was in my 30s. But they were kind of cantankerous, short-tempered a lot of times. But should they be required to retire completely at a certain age? A second question, and this is really just, not just for this judge or not just for judicial appointees, but really all federal nominees. My next door neighbor, again, I'm bragging about him. Carlos Del Toro has been nominated to be Secretary of the Navy, and he's passed his FBI background, okay? Which means he'll be over the United States Navy, the United States Marine Corps, and all the civilian employees. Great job. But good for him. But what they undergo as a result of that, when a president contemplates nominating someone to an appointed position, the FBI, since the 1930s, has done a background investigation on them. Now, this is for people who are going to hold senior executive branch positions. So, let's say a person was nominated to be the administrator of the DEA, okay? Well, what they would undergo is they would fill out some forms. The FBI would do a background investigation, and then that background investigation goes to the White House counsel, and the president then decides whether to go forward with the nomination. The nomination is then sent over in the case of a DEA administrator, nominee, or in the case of a federal judge, it's sent to the Senate Judiciary Committee. They look it over, and then there's a hearing that's held, and basically, if everything's in order, they're appointed. And with regards to everything but federal judges, they serve strictly at the pleasure of the president and can be removed at any time, but judges, of course, cannot. It's a lifetime appointment. It begs the question, what is the fairness of requiring, let's say, law enforcement applicants to be of cleaner background than the president, and then, how many of our recent presidents would be able to pass the moral screenings required of new federal agents? Again, they don't go through background exams. Well, they go through backgrounds, but obviously politicians don't go through polygraphs, psychologicals, in addition to background investigations. Simply background investigations only. And in the case of presidents or elected officials, not even that. They undergo the screening, of course, that any politician would undergo, and something that I wouldn't want to undergo, but they don't have to get hooked up to machines or have a shrink examine their mental state. So good questions, good questions that a case like this raises. Now my money, my money's going to be on his judge. He's going to win. This guy is going to lose his job because Trump appointed him. And this guy will retire off into the sunset. My predictions. So there you have it. I mean, I think when I'm upset, when I'm short-tempered, usually I take a nap and I feel a lot better. Apparently this guy, just got angrier and angrier and charged them all with criminal offenses, which a judge can do. But, I don't think there's any basis for it. I think he's over the top. And, but I do think it's, the whole thing is just really unfortunate. It's really embarrassing for the judiciary. And, I think some of these people are just on the bench too long, so that's my 2 cents. And, that's for what it's worth. But I hope this was somewhat entertaining. I hope it was somewhat informative, These judges, when you're in court, they act like little gods at times, and it is what it is. So, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day, okay? Better day than they're having.